So I've been a master falconer for now 24 years. Well, not master falconer, but a falconer for 24 years. I was born and raised in Spanish Springs Valley, where my family had 9,000 acre cattle ranch and hay. See if it's gonna work.
Yeah.
Not so much, huh? Ah, thank you. So people ask me, well, how did you get into this? And it's like, well, it was from a random chance meeting. I've been a hunter most of my life. I've hunted birds as well as deer and antelope. And I had a chance meeting with a guy who was hunting his bird on some chukar up in Tuscarora, Nevada. And I asked him, well, what are you doing? I was like 26. And he says, well, I'm hunting my falcon. And I'm like, you're doing what? He says, yeah, I'm a falconer. I'd never heard the word. He says, yeah, I'm hunting my bird over these chukar. And I'm thinking, okay, well, that sounds like a whole lot of fun. Because chasing, anyone who's hunted chukar knows that you only hunt them once, and after that you hunt them for revenge. Because they are extremely hard to kill or to hunt. And being able to send a bird after them, that just sounded like a whole lot of fun. But I didn't say anything about it, you know. Years went by. I met a man and we were dating, and he proceeded to tell me how he had been a falconer in the East Coast and had hunted his birds and some of his hunting stories with his birds. And I thought, okay, that just sounds like so much fun. And he says, well, I'll be more than glad to support you in your goal to be a falconer, but there's just a whole lot you've got to understand first about being a falconer. So he got me 3 books on falconry for Christmas. He says, read these, and if you still want to be a falconer, I will support you. Well, after I read those 3 books, and after I had retired from being a management assistant for the Truckee Meadows Community College, we went to the Department of Wildlife and got a list of all the falconers, because you have to be an apprentice for 2 years under a master falconer before you get your general license. And whether you get your general license depends upon whether that master falconer thinks you'll make a good falconer after those two years. And the first thing he did was he asked me 4 questions. And to this day, those 4 questions are what I ask my people that come to me and want to become a falconer. And that is, do you have the time? Because it is time intensive. And it's not so much your time, you're on their time. And a lot of times that can be a long time. And when you get your first bird, you have to hold it with meat in your hand until it decides to eat on your fist. That can be 2 hours or it can be 18 hours. You get to sit in a room quietly waiting for this bird to eat off your fist. And basically anything larger than them, they feel can kill them. So when you find this bird on the highway that's been hit and you walk up to it, that bird knows you're going to kill it because you're bigger than it, and anything bigger than it can kill it and eat it. So it's scared to death of you. And so when you get these birds, you trap them, you put them on your fist, you have to wait until they decide that, well, I guess she's not going to eat me. So I guess I'll trust her or him. So like I said, it can be time and the amount of time that you train this bird and you hunt this bird. And again, it's about their time, not yours. So the other thing is, do you have a place to keep these birds? Can you build a mew? A mew is basically a hawk house. It's a glorified chicken coop for your bird. So you've got to have the money to be able to build a small enclosed area that would keep them safe and keep them out of the weather. The other is, can you take pain and heartache? Now, I never realized exactly what he meant by this. Pain I could get because those talons, they're sharp. Those beaks, they're very sharp. And they don't like you. You are a source of food, period. There's no lovey-dovey in here. You are their hunting partner. Basically, you're their hunting dog. So it's just like the relationship between a hunting dog and a hunter is the relationship the falconer has with his bird. You're there to help that bird be successful. The other one is, can you take blood and guts? Because it can be very bloody. It's nature. And these animals are out there to take down another animal and eat it. Sometimes they will eat it before it's dead. That means you get to walk up on your bird who is tearing out the eyeballs of a rabbit before it's dead. It's screaming. You get to be able to walk over there with a knife, fresh meat on your hand, try to get your bird off of that rabbit and cut its throat and end its suffering. I grew up on a ranch. I understand what taking care of animals that are suffering means. Yes,
Explain the heartache.
I'll get to that just a second. So, yeah, so you do have to be able to handle the blood and guts. I had one of my sponsorees tell me, well, I started as a EMT and we went on a wreck and I accidentally stepped on a guy's eyeball. Because I can handle blood. I said, okay, I get that. So that third part about can you take pain and heartache? I didn't realize that not only does it mean that these talons can go into your body. And when they do, you have to wait until they decide to let you go. You can't yell, you can't scream, you can't flinch. You take a big deep breath and you wait anywhere from a minute to 5 or 6 minutes before they decide to let you go. And that can be a long time. The other part that I didn't realize, the heartache part, is when you have your muse burned to the ground or you have your bird die. I had 8 birds die in this fire. All my equipment, everything went in a matter of 45 minutes. I have watched birds that were perfectly healthy 1 hour, fall off their perch dead in a doornail the next, and never give me a hint that they were going to die. This can break your heart, especially after you've spent hours with this animal training it, and all of a sudden you find out that it has West Nile or bird flu or God knows what else it can get, and they will hide it because in the wild, if they show any kind of weakness, they will be eaten by another bird. So they will hide it until the very last minute and then they'll fall over dead. I had a friend who went to Arizona, trapping Harris hawks and came back. He had the bird for 1 week. He had it flying to his fist. The bird was doing great. He was standing there with another falconer and the bird fell over dead on a perch. And they have no idea what happened to it. So it can break your heart in that respect. Sometimes when you're flying them, they decide, you know what? I don't think I want to go back to you anymore. And they take off. All that hard work, gone. Poof. And it will break your heart. So what is falconry? Well, it's watching what these birds do best. You're a part of their world. They allow us to see into their world. And these are amazing animals. They are total athletes. Some of the ways that they can twist and turn and get things, totally, absolutely stunning. They have intelligence that is just unbelievable. They are so very, very smart. They learn things very quick, both bad things and good things. So you have to be very careful when you're teaching them what you want them to do. There's only 3 things that motivate a bird of prey: the desire to hunt, the passion to soar, and the instinct to create that new generation. Matter of fact, red-tailed hawks, if they don't think there's enough rodents, rabbits, or whatever out there to feed them and their babies, they won't lay eggs. That's why some years we have quite a few red-tailed hawks, other years we don't. It depends on how many rodents, rabbits we have in the area. So I'm sure because all of you are Audubon people, like a lot of this is probably going to seem pretty redundant, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you anyhow. There's a couple of ways you can tell whether you're looking at a hawk or a falcon. Your falcons will nest in cliffs. Falcons will never nest in a tree. Hawks nest in trees. So if there's a nest in a tree and there's a bird of prey on it, chances are it's a hawk. Falcons have your pointed wings. Hawks have rounded wings. You can see here, and falcons love to chase things in the air. While if they're hungry, they will catch things any way they can. Their preferred method of hunting is to hunt in the air. Hawks hunt on the ground. Rabbits, squirrels, snakes, anything that goes on the ground, that's what they like to go after. And like I said, if they're hungry, they will catch anything they can. Cooper's hawks, who love the city life and adore you people, because when you put up a bird feeder and a bird bath, you just put up a McDonald's with a water park for a Cooper's hawk. And they love to have those little Tweety birds have their head in a bird feeder so they can zoom by and grab them and eat them. Raptors have 14 cervical vertebrae in their necks that allow them to turn their necks 180 degrees. In contrast, humans only have 7. A peregrine or a gyrfalcon or an eagle can see a rabbit at a half a mile. They can see a rabbit at a mile away. At a half a mile, they can see the sides move in and out with each breath. And at a quarter mile, they can see their whiskers move and their eyes blink. There's only one problem with that. Up close, they're darn near blind. So when that red-tailed hawk is chasing that rabbit, when he gets down about 3 feet, he is falling blind. He can't see that rabbit. So that's why they don't always catch what they go after. The eyes of the barn owl, the dark owl, the eyes, means they can hunt at night. The yellow eyes of the great horn means they hunt at dawn and dusk. And the orange eyes of the great eagle owl can hunt anytime they want. So like I said, these little nodes on the bottom of their feet, they're sensory organs. And when they're flying after like a rabbit or another bird of prey, and that sensory organs feel that hair, their talons will automatically clench up. Same thing as when you're handling them and you accidentally touch their talon, they will grab your hand. So basically, those are kind of the sensory organs that let them know that they're close to whatever they are to catch. I have a lot of people ask me, well, can a bird of prey take my cat? No. Can it take my little toy dog? No. Can it kill it? Oh, absolutely. And sit there and eat it in front of you. But it can only lift 1/3 of its weight. Most of your red-tailed hawks weigh about 2 pounds, maybe 2.5 pounds. They can only lift 1/3 of that weight. So can they haul off an animal? Probably not. But they can kill it, eat 4 ounces of meat, and then go sit up in a tree for 18 hours and digest it. And I tell people from April to about July, these birds are feeding babies. They don't care if it's your pet. They care about feeding their young and themselves. And they have a lot of food to produce for those animals. Just to give you an idea, I pulled a red-tailed hawk out of a nest at 23 days old. So still kind of fuzzy. For one of my apprentices. And I do what we call quail birder. I have a commercial grinder and I take pigeon, quail, and rabbit, and I throw the whole animal in the grinder. Head, guts, brains, fur, everything goes in the grinder. And I make what I call quail birder. Now, normally, a bird that's about 2.5 pounds can eat 4 ounces a day. That's a small quail or a half of a big quail. This bird at 23 days old was eating 8 quail a day. you can almost watch their feathers grow. Because at 40 days old, they're as big as they'll ever be, and they're full grown, they're ready to fly. So it takes from day 1 to 40 days to grow everything they have, their feathers and everything. So they eat a huge amount of meat, a huge amount of food. So those parents are having to feed not only themselves, but if they have 2 babies in the nest, they're having to produce a lot of food. They're out there hunting all the time. Those 2 parents are working hard. So that's why I tell people, please watch your animals. I have miniature doxies. Trust me, I watch my doxies like a hawk. So, and obviously the red-tailed hawks, they only get their red tail after their first year. So when they have that red tail, that means they're at least a year old. When they have the immature tail, obviously under a year old, it lets other birds know that they're a breeding age. They also have a gland at the base of their tail. It secretes an oil. That oil they put on their feathers, their wings. It's kind of like Thompson weather seal for bird feathers, because it conditions, it keeps them waterproof, keeps them strong and flexible. Your females are always a third again bigger than your males. Not all birds of prey have different coloration. Like the kestrels, you can definitely tell the male kestrel from a female kestrel. Males are a lot brighter and prettier. But like your sharpshins, your Cooper's hawks, you really can't tell the females from the males by the color of their feathers, just by their size. So in the spring, come February, March, April, when you see these 2 hawks sitting in a tree, and one of them is so much bigger than the other, then that's going to be your female, and smaller one will always be your male. So a lot of people ask me, why do you do this? Because there's a whole lot of falconers out there that don't like me talking about this. And I tell people, and I tell people, it's ignorance versus information. There is a whole lot of people out there that think shooting birds of prey is a lot of fun. It is also a $5,000 fine if you get caught. They are on the top of the food chain. If something goes wrong in our world, ecology-wise, birds of prey are going to start dying. We're going to know about it. There are warning signals. In Africa, they thought it'd be real fun to shoot vultures. Well, they're big, they're dumb, they're easy to shoot. Guys are out there hunting big game. They've got nothing better to do. Let's go shoot some vultures. They thought it was really great, really fun. Until about 7 or 8 months later, when the migrations of wildebeest came through some of these big rivers. And of course, they don't all make it across the river. Some of them drown. And they wrapped up into these big carrion type things. Gosh, you know what? All of a sudden, people were getting sick downriver. Why? Because there was no buzzards to clean up the mess. All of a sudden, they realized, oh, maybe we shouldn't have shot those vultures. That was a big mistake. Same thing with the peregrines and the DDT. We realized that the DDT that the pharmaceutical companies said, oh, it's safe, it's wonderful, it's no problem. When peregrines started dying, they realized, oh, well, you know what? Maybe we should have looked at that a little bit closer. So that's why I truly believe that these birds have a purpose in our world, and it's our responsibility to make sure that they are doing well. One raptor can eat 12,000 mice in 6 months. Obviously, that's mice that we don't have to poison. And if we don't have to put poisons in our world, that's a good thing. The sport of falconry is over 4,000 years old. They used it because it was before guns were invented. This is how people got their food put on their table. It was, and still is to this day, respect and trust. They have to trust us, and we have to respect that they can hurt us pretty bad. You watch your bird, and every day you weigh it It's a daily routine. I know exactly what my birds should weigh. I know exactly how much food they get. So I know how much their weight should fluctuate. If their weight fluctuates too much, I know I have a serious problem. The only vet that I can take my bird to is in Roseville, California. It's 2 hours away. So finding out that there might be a problem with your bird early is the key to having these animals. You spend hours developing trust because they do have to trust you. You exercise them daily. I fly my birds usually in my arena, which is about 400 yards back and forth to develop their wings so they're strong enough to hunt. And then you take them out hunting. And I can tell you when a bird of prey, when you set your bird of prey out and he's out maybe 200 yards, and you lift up your fist and you whistle to him or you smack your fist, do whatever it is you do to call them in, because every falconer is different. And you have like a red-tailed hawk open at 6 feet of wings and land on your fist just as soft as can be. It is a total thrill. It's absolutely amazing. They grant us a part of their world, and their personalities are all different. I've had birds that were just absolutely pleasant and wonderful. I've had others that are total, and excuse my expression, assholes. And I've gotten rid of those assholes as fast as I can. I've learned that this is not a good thing. From the largest, the steppe eagles of Mongolia and Kazakhstan, some of the smallest, the kestrel and the pygmy falcon. There's 87 falconers in the state of Nevada. There is 4,000 in the United States. It's practiced in 64 countries with over 100,000 falconers worldwide. So I enjoy watching these birds hunt. I've watched them hunt since I was a kid sitting on the back of a horse working cattle. And they are truly amazing what they can do. And being able to hunt with them and be a part of their world is truly a gift that I don't ever take for granted. But I also know that if they wanted to, they could leave anytime they want. And I make sure that when I hunt them, the only thing that's on them is their leather bracelets, which can't get caught up in trees. I take all the leather jesses, the leashes, everything comes off of them. So if they do decide to hit that thermal and take off, then they can't without any fear of them getting caught in a tree, hung up somewhere, or anything like that. If a bird of prey is in a breeding facility, my sponsor had 30 pairs of gyrfalcons. Right now, going rate for a gyrfalcon is 70,000. Okay, so, and his birds obviously were bred here in Nevada. Gyrfalcons are native to Alaska, the northern boreal forest, Siberia. They're known as the polar falcons. They're the largest falcons in the world. Problem with that is they're not really good with the heat that we have here in Nevada, Texas, California, Arizona. So the gentlemen who were breeding the peregrine falcon figured out how to do artificial insemination. So when they figured that out, they decided, no, we could cross this big bird of prey with a peregrine falcon, and we would have the heat toleration and the speed of the peregrine. We'd have the size of the gyrfalcon. So this is kind of like the ultimate bird for most falconers, is to own a cross. I've had probably 20 of them. And they are amazing animals. They are truly amazing birds. But they are also a crossbred, and it's illegal to turn them loose in the state of Nevada. So if I wanted to hunt a bird of prey that is not native to our state, I have to have tracking systems on them, and I have to have telemetry on them. By state law, I have to do everything in my power to get that bird back. And when you have a bird of prey that's worth that much money, the word goes out to every falconer here in this area that you've lost a bird. Everybody is on the lookout for your bird. And they try very hard to get them back because they don't want them out there taking down the native species. Simple, plain and simple. Yes,
There's a question over here.
yes.
Oh, thank you. You mentioned crossbreeding. Does crossbreeding in that case make the bird more resilient?
Like I said, it
stronger?
makes it more heat tolerant
Yeah,
and it makes it faster. So every year around February, the falconers in the West have what they call the sky trials in Topaz Lake. This is like the Kentucky Derby for falcons. It comes right at the end of hunting season and we have to hunt our birds the same time the guys go out with shotguns. We can't hunt our birds year round, only during hunting season. So the end of hunting season, usually at the end of January, our birds are at their top condition. So they go out to Topaz and they have competitions. They will send up a bird. With falcons, you send them up to circle overhead. So there are competitions to see who can get their bird to go the highest. The highest I have heard is about 4,000 feet up. And then how fast that bird can come down on a prey animal. So they'll turn loose a pigeon. They've got radar guns like the cops have that track you down on the highway. And the fastest I have heard to date was a peregrine falcon was going 273 miles an hour after a prey. I can tell you that when you watch these birds come out of the sky at about 200, 210 miles an hour and hit a duck, all you see is a puff of feathers. And by the way, when I say that I'm their bird dog, so I'm the one that's out there trying to chase up the quail or chase up the chucker or chase up the duck. So I can whistle and my bird sees me down here being bird dog and he can come down and hit that out. When you're hunting hawks, you're out there through the brush trying to get rabbits to run so that your bird can get them. Like I said, you're the bird dog. And as soon as they do get that animal, hopefully you can hurry up, get over there and have fresh meat on your fist, show them that fresh meat, they will jump on your fist. You take that animal, you cover it up with your hunting bag, you pick it up, you put it in your bag. What I do is I cut it up into whatever ounces I feed that bird a day, whether it's 3 or 4 or 5 ounces a day. I cut that rabbit, duck, whatever it is up and I freeze it. And then every day I give it a piece of food from its kill. I'm not real fond of duck, so I'm really, or rabbit, so I'm really good with that. Let's see, what else can I tell you? Who has some questions?
Are these crossbred birds, are they fertile? Are they
No,
sterile?
they are not. They're sterile. Yes. Yeah.
You prefer male or females?
You know, it's kind of interesting. It depends. Your males are obviously much lighter. So packing around 2 pounds on your fist like this for 4 hours gets a little hard. When it's a female and it's even heavier, it's even worse. Females are more aggressive. They're like the bull in the china closet. They will go after anything. They are absolute extreme hunters. Males are a lot more finesse. They're a lot more, you know, they'll catch it, but they're going to catch it where they're not going to get hurt. Whereas females don't care. They just like go after things. I prefer the males only because the females can get themselves hurt so much easier. I had a good friend who had bought a Saker peregrine cross. Now, Sakers are from the Mideast. Had a Saker peregrine cross, female, beautiful bird, absolutely gorgeous, stunning hunter. Turned a pigeon loose. It tail chased the pigeon. It lost it. It was circling back. It saw a wild pigeon. That wild pigeon went to ground, went into a sagebrush out in Hungry Valley. That bird went after it with everything she had. she speared herself on a piece of sagebrush, right through the chest. Oh yeah, that's that heartbreak thing that I talk about. But you know, she was an extreme hunter. I know a lot of guys who like to hunt goshawks for that same reason. Goshawks are like the psychopaths of the hawk. They don't care. They will go after anything, anywhere, anytime. And they have a bad habit of also like reaching out and smacking you in the face with a talon for no reason, just because they feel like it. So I'm not never have flown goshawks, don't care to. Like I said, I've been a master falconer now. I waited 8 years and then took my master's test for the falconry. And then I waited another 4 years and decided to talk myself into being a breeder. One of the birds I have today is from one of my breeding pairs. I breed Peruvian Aplomado falcons. Why? Because they're easy. That and a lot of guys use them now for they go to like golf courses or to berry farms and they do abatement. They fly their birds to keep all the pest birds away. And the little Aplomados will tail chase anything. And they're really, really good for that. Plus they don't eat a lot, so they're not as costly to keep. And they're usually pretty good. This little one I have up here tonight that I'm going to show you. His name is Ciccio. I'm Italian. Ciccio is boyfriend in Italian. So he's my boyfriend. He's also a miracle. He shouldn't be alive. He really shouldn't. My two breeders, Cary Grant and Ginger Roger, and I did not name those. So they come straight from Peru. They are first generation, what the falconers call F1s. These are very special because their genetics are clean. They're not supposed to be having babies. They're 24 and 25 years old. Right now, I'm sort of stuck with them because, well, you can't turn them loose and nobody's going to want an old pair. So basically, I am there at my house until they die.
How many birds do you have?
And so, 1 second. So, and they're not supposed to have babies. Good friend of mine called me up last year and said, "Hey, Marie, did your apples breed?" I'm like, "No." And he goes, "Oh, I just thought I'd ask." And, you know, I'm sitting there, it's Mother's Day, I'm thinking, I gotta go look just for shits and grins. And I don't go into their pen because they haven't been around people. When you go in their pen, they go all crazy, they hit the walls, it's not good. I have a camera in there that I usually, and I also have a window, two-way or one-way glass that I can look down in the nest. So I climb up on the ladder and I look down in the nest and here's two babies. I've got two babies. They're about that big. They're probably around 17 days. I'm like, holy cow. Oh my God, I've got babies. This is great. And then I hear this. And I thought, what the heck? And so I stuck my hand in the nest and I lifted one of them up. And here's a baby as big as my hand. It's probably 3 days old. I'm like, oh my God, this thing's going to get 8. So I took it out of the nest and I did what we call imprinting. I'm not a fan of imprinting, but I took it out of the nest and it grew up in my laundry room in a laundry basket. So he's very imprinted. So he will never breed because he's imprinted on humans. And he will never be able to be turned loose with another bird because he's scared to death of his own kind. So that's not such a good thing. But he's a great hunter. He's a great hunter. I've been flying him on Tweety birds in the backyard this year. Last year. This year, I'm going to try to hunt him on dove and see how he does. If you would bring up the lights, I will take him out of the box and you can meet him. Come on, Cheech. And he's been around people since he was 4 months old, because the International Bird Festival in Lake Tahoe was in June, and I know, I get it. Yeah. And one thing about imprinting is you have to have them with you all the time. You can't just like leave them, because if you just go in there when you feed them, they start screaming. I.e. this one over here is a screamer. So this one had to be with me all the time. It's like having a baby. Huh, I know. Come on, get off of my shoulder. I know. So I'm talking about it. Will ya? You wanna come see these people?
Oh.
Now, he's a male, so the females would be a third again bigger. Huh, I know. I did it. Talk to me about it.
Well, but you just saw my.
You couldn't release certain birds, is that because?
I can't release him because he's native to South America and he's also been in my breeding facility. So it'd be illegal for me to turn speed and not try to get it back. You'll see that there's a metal band on his leg. That's a federal band that has to go on when they're, with the Apple model, they have to be 7 days old when the band. Yes. And that's, one of those things when I grind it up that I have to have the feathers and the bone and the brain and stuff, everything that the parent would give them, I have to give them as well. Which is kind of strange when you open up my refrigerator. Yeah, falconers are strange creatures. The worst I've gotten bit was I had a deer-falcon bite right straight through this muscle. Just for kicks and grins. She'd already been dead. She just thought she'd do it because she could.
Yeah.
And she was a nasty creature. I've had talons go through my hands, through my chest, through my legs. And when that happens, you breathe very deeply, you count to 10, and then you breathe and you count to 10 again. You go to a Zen place and you try very hard not to flinch, move, or do anything stupid, because then they dig their talons. And the female red tail that I have in one of those boxes is a real good example of why I wouldn't want talons in my body from her. Hi, Chico. It's really a sweetie. Huh, yeah. I just think these guys are so pretty and they're so easy to keep and so easy to deal with. My sponsor had all the deer falcons and deers are, you have to have the connections to sell them and I just did not, and the permits, and because you're usually dealing with the Saudis. The Saudis are the ones that want these birds and will pay that kind of price.
Does he like to be touched?
No.
No.
The little girl back there.
Yeah.
Good, they're answering, but do you have a question,
Did you have a question?
Ruby?
How does the triplet stop his being closed?
1 second. My hearing isn't the best. So let me come back. So what now?
How does the triplet being closed?
With his throat.
Oh.
I don't know.
Yeah, very, I think that's very astute.
Yeah, that was a good question.
She's gonna be a fountain.
But these guys are a kick in the pants. Like I said, he doesn't particularly like to be touched. And so I don't do it.
How many birds do you have?
I have his mom and dad. I have those two and him. So 2, 4, 6. 6 birds. Yeah. Huh.
What's the largest spray that size bird will have?
A quail or a dove.
And how much time each day do you spend taking care of your birds? And working
The
with
summer, they just, they chill out in their pens, they're fine. Come fall, probably in about another 2 weeks, I'll keep these jesses on him. And every day I'll go out and I'll put him out and I'll put meat on my fist and I'll have him fly to me. and I'll start weighing him and make sure I know exactly what his hunting weight is. And then when I think he's ready, then I'll just take him out in my backyard and turn him loose on the little birds and let him run. Huh, right? Right.
So Maria, I had a question, the parent birds.
Yeah.
when They had the babies, you said you didn't go in there, so you weren't weighing those birds.
No,
So were they getting enough food? I mean, they must be. getting
no,
enough
they
food.
were not.
Okay.
I was absolutely mortified, trust me on that one. And they started getting a lot more food when I found out that that was the deal. Huh, yeah,
And how old is this one?
he turned a year old in May.
Sue, what was your question? We couldn't hear.
How old? How old? Oh, I was asking, because she said she didn't go in the cage with the parent plant.
No, I have a camera on the parents,
But she wasn't
and I
weighing
just
them.
watch them. And I pretty much know what they'll eat,
Yeah,
about how much they weigh.
yeah.
They eat about 2.5 to 3 ounces of quail a day,
But they were feeding babies, so I wondered.
but they
how
were
much
feeding
they-
babies. I was
It wasn't
mortified.
enough food.
I was truly mortified. And to have this one still survive.
Yeah.
When the little ones weren't getting as much food as they needed. Like, oh my God. So let's see, who do I take out first? Let's take Kai out. So when my muse burnt to the ground, the falconers rallied. They made sure I had gear. They donated gear to me. And the one guy says, well, we have this bird. I said, yeah. And he goes, and you're not gonna hunt it. It's a total useless bird. It's the victim of stupidity. And I said, okay. And they said, some idiot up at Lake Tahoe decided to take a bird out of the nest. So that idiot could walk around with a bird of prey on its fist and go, oh, look at me, I'm special. They did not teach it to hunt. And they kept it, so obviously it will never breed. And they never taught it to fly.
Oh.
So, and it was 6 years old. 3 master falconers tried to get this bird to hunt. They could not get it done. They said, Marie, we know you do talks. The only thing this bird's gonna be good for is educational work. None of our educational areas like Animal Ark, Safari Zoo, they don't want it. The only thing left, if you don't want it, is we're gonna kill it. Because that's the only thing left. Because if you turn it out, it's gonna starve to death. And I said, well, I'll take it. And I took one look at it and went, oh, good God, what do you mean it won't hunt? And they're like, it's not gonna hunt. I said, well, I'll get it to hunt, thinking I'm smart. And my muses, my areas where I keep my birds are about 16 feet by 12 foot by 10 feet tall. And I thought, well, okay, I'll turn a bunch of 5 baby chicks in there. She'll either hunt or she'll starve. She'd starve. She would, 4 days, she wouldn't eat. By the 5th day, I just gave up and put a dead quail in there. She ate it. And so Kai's a beautiful animal. She's gorgeous. It breaks my heart that she will never hunt because she is so cool. Of all the red tails I've ever owned, most of my males ran somewhere between 28 and 35 ounces. My females, somewhere between 30 and 35. This girl, 68 ounces.
Oh, it's huge.
It's huge. She would be a falconer's dream, huh, Kai? She is the sweetest, kindest bird. I know, you don't like to come out of the box. Come on. Up you. Oh my God. Oh, you're nuts. Okay. When I come around, take a good look at this back talon. It's huge. I mean, she could sink her talons into a rabbit. And she would have been an amazing hunter. But she's not. She's as sweet and kind as you could ever ask for a bird. Huh? Hey, put your foot down. Put your foot down. Come on.
Oh, and she likes to get that, huh?
She tolerates it.
Oh, okay.
She will tolerate it. Until she like decides to kind of peck at me and go, enough. But yeah, I can do this with it.
Drew, could you sit down there?
But she just. And she's got such amazing feet. Her falconers, you want a bird with big feet. And she's got huge feet. She would have been an amazing hunter. They took that away from her. And when I say there's only 3 things that motivate a bird, to hunt, to fly, and to breed, they took all 3 of those away from her.
How did you get it from the guy in Tahoe? Did you give her?
They took her away from some guy in Lake Tahoe, and the rescue center up there had it. They called up this friend of mine who's a master falconer and said, hey, we got this red tail. Can you do something with her? We can't find any place to take her. Can you do something? And Kai means spirit of life in Egyptian. But yeah, take a good look at that back talon. It's huge. She's got the biggest feet I've ever seen. And she doesn't hunt. This just breaks my heart. Absolutely breaks my heart. She is 12 years old. So out of 500 red tails born this year, 250 will see their first birthday. And of that 255 will see their 5th birthday. So she's totally outlived, what she would have been wild. The oldest I've heard of a red tail in captivity is 37.
Wow.
And that was in a zoo down in California somewhere. Yeah. She's total imprint.
The oldest one I know of in the wild, is 27. Known from banding records.
Oh. So they banded a red tail? Who did?
There's bird banders all across the world who band birds. So we can study population.
Okay,
decline,
like the Nevada, Aqua, Trinidad.
yeah. And study their migration patterns and stuff.
That's rare. That is so rare.
What, banding birds?
No, have a bird that old in the
Oh,
wild.
yeah, I know. Yeah.
That is extremely. That's like an extreme oddity.
Does she knowledge how old?
Like 21 or 27 or something.
Wow. So I got that statistic. So I got that statistic from the Peregrine Fund up in Boise, Idaho. And they do a lot of banding as well. They do a lot of breeding of birds that are on the endangered species list. They have harpy eagles, Philippine eagles. They've got some California condors up there. They were responsible for bringing the alpamatas in Texas off the watch list.
Does she eat a lot?
This one, she eats about 4 ounces of meat a day.
What is normal?
2, 3.
Does she dig?
Yeah, she eats quite a bit. But she is good for like the talks I do and stuff. So. Yeah, and I kind of like her. Yeah. I kinda like her. Yeah. Bye. She's a good girl. Yeah, take a good look at this.
Stunning.
Yeah, and when those go into your body, they're really no joke either.
Wow.
They hurt really badly.
When she's this close to us, can she see us?
Oh, yeah,
Can she sense?
you're blurry.
Yeah.
You're very blurry.
What about the sense of smell?
They don't have any smell. No, only vultures.
Oh.
Well, I'll be cleaning that up. Yeah. There you go. Thank you, Kai. The next one is another one of those birds that,
Question over here, Marie.
huh?
I have a question. Why did you change your glove from the upper model for that?
Did you see the talons on this?
It's not for any other reason, just because it needs to be.
Bigger,
Oh, okay.
bigger, bigger feet, bigger gloves. The eagle gloves are twice that. And I don't care to mess with an eagle. She weighs 68 ounces. I think that's probably around what, 4 pounds maybe?
That's a lot.
Eagles weigh somewhere around 8. I do not need to be carrying around an 8-pound bird, nor do I need to pay the amount of money it would cost to have that 8-pound said bird. I have a friend down in, a fellow falconer in Las Vegas who breeds harpy eagles and varicose eagles. And they're huge. They're just huge. And the only thing they can hunt with them in the state of Nevada is jackrabbits. So I can go out and I can trap a red-tailed hawk, and within 2 weeks I can have it hunting jackrabbits. Or I can go down and buy for $7,500 a eagle, and pack around, which I can't lift, to hunt the same jackrabbit. No, I have a friend who was a falconer in the Czech Republic, and that's all they hunted was eagles. And I asked him, I said, would you have an eagle? He goes, not here in Nevada. He said, if I could hunt them like I did back home, yes. And I said, what did you hunt back home? He said, antelope, deer, and wolves.
Wow.
He said, we can't hunt wolves. Obviously, we don't have them. We can't hunt coyotes, and we hunt coyotes. The Department of Wildlife is going to get really upset. And he said, so I can't hunt a bird like I want, so why have it? Kind of made sense. But a lot of guys like that prestige of having that big bird whose talons are, his feet are bigger than my hand.
Aren't they endangered, the harpy eagles? Oh, yeah.
Yes, but not in breeding facilities. You can breed them, just like they could breed the peregrines. I know. This bird came to me because the falconer's wife said, if you don't get rid of that bird, I'm going to turn it loose and drown you. And so one of my friends says, oh, I've got this friend that just lost all her birds. Do you want to sell it to her? And he called me up and he said, we've got this bird. He's an imprint. You want him? Oh, well, okay. What is he? He's peregrine deer falcon. Okay. Are you sure? I know you're not. His name is Taryn, and Welsh that means thunder. Thunder. He's as loud as thunder. He also killed geese. I watched him kill one goose and a couple of ducks. He was an amazing hunter. He is 21 years old. He's retired. I don't hunt him. All I do is this. Stop. Stop. Yeah.
Oh.
Stop. We're in a toxic mood now. I don't know what to tell you. My apologies for your eardrum. When I live, my nearest neighbor is a quarter mile or half a mile away from me. So most people don't care if this thing is noisy. But a lot of people would not be happy with listening to this in the neighborhood. The thing of it was when they bred this bird, They probably just went in and fed it 2 or 3 times a day and that was it. So the only time that bird ever saw someone is when they were gonna feed it. So guess what? Now, not only that, but he is an imprint. So in the spring, I go to walk in his pen. He hears my voice. I walk into his pen. He's got a nest scraped out and he thinks I'm gonna breed with him. I'm a little confused. Someone wanted to give him an egg. So I gave him 2 of the banty eggs, which made him really happy for about a month. And then they didn't hatch. So yeah, he was not happy. Oh, yes. Not only that, but their wings are a lot stiffer because they're hitting those high, fast speeds where hawks don't. Hawks average speed is about 25 miles an hour. These guys, when they're goofing around, is around 70. And so you see in his nose, there's a little bony protrusion in that hole. That's so when they're hitting those top speeds, it's a wind buffle so that it doesn't go up into their brain. They're also a notch in the feet. That is so that when they hit they come down at 200 miles an hour, they hit whatever they're going after with their feet, and they try to break it and find. And if they don't, they flip over, they grab the bird in the chest, they flip back over and do what I call a controlled fall. So they control the fall to the ground. If the bird isn't dead, they take that knot, they work it in the spine, and they snap the neck. That's what that notch is in the beak. They're enemies. Anything bigger than them. Coyotes, dogs, once they're on the ground, bobcats, mountain lions, coyotes, personal dogs, a bird of prey bigger than them. So like an owl, an eagle, oh yeah. Yeah, great point, absolutely.
So domesticated, quote unquote.
Yeah,
Would the movement of children perhaps trigger like a prey?
only if he wasn't fed. He's fed, it's fed every morning, so he cares less. Karen. And I mean, look at his feet compared to that red tail.
Nothing.
That's nothing. No, it's nothing. You're right. That's what kills me every time I look at her talons. It's like, so he can't jump over and land on your shoulder.
Which would hurt.
And that might hurt, especially without this glove on. And even sometimes with the glove on my hand, Murphy's Law, you can see where this glove is sewn. Their talons will find that one spot between the sewing that they can sink that talon through into your hand. No, it happens quite a bit. And when it does, dang, it hurts.
What is this?
Huh. Karen, I was told that in Welsh it's Tareen. If you're gonna say it right, it's Tareen. Karen's just easier to say. Huh, okay. You're a good bird. You're too well. But he is a little bit bigger than a male peregrine because he does have the jeer in him. But he looks more peregrine to me than he does jeer. Yes, you do. Yeah. Sorry. All the hair. He's just complaining to me. He talks a lot. The minute I get up and if I say anything to my dogs, I have 9 dogs. I have 3 ex-racing greyhounds and 6 miniature doxies. And the minute I start talking to the dogs, he starts talking. I can hear him start screaming. Yeah, I know. I know.
I have a question. You said they imprint, so if they've imprinted on a different human.
Sometimes it won't transfer. Sometimes if someone imprints it and they're screaming like this, giving them to somebody else will stop it, but not always. With him, yeah, it didn't work. I can only wish, but it didn't work. So I don't know if you can see, but there's a pretty good sized scratch on my arm. Last May, no, the end of June, there is a event called the International Bird Festival up at Taylor Creek. I believe your club goes up there. And I have an area where I can keep usually people away from my birds, and yet they can get close to see them and, you know, everything. It's up on some grass, and then there's a cement wall where people are walking. So they can get like eye to eye and about, 3 feet from these birds. So they can get up close and they can take their pictures and everything's good. And the birds are fine, and wonderful and dandy. The guy brought his dog up on that grass. I had Taryn, and I had him, and I had just, you know, this on my hand because I was just about ready to put him down. And the dog came up, and this guy just freaked. He's like, "Oh no, Mom." And he climbed up over my arm, across my neck, and down my shoulder, and sliced open my arm. It was like, "Ow!" And the guy goes, "Oh, did my dog do that?" Like, yes, I did. Get him off the grass. I had one gal up there. I was feeding one of my birds, and I try very hard to be kind about when I feed these animals. So when I go in a public area, and I know I'm going to be there for quite a while, usually what I do is take a quail breast, no blood, no guts, just plain white meat, no feathers. I mean, it looks like a chicken breast, like chicken tenders, like you buy in a store, like chicken tenders, basically. And because I'm cognizant that, you know, a lot of people do not want to see this bird tear open something and fling guts all over my face and stuff. And I don't particularly want that either when I'm talking in public. And so I had this bird, and he was pulling the meat apart and eating it. And this girl and her family come walking up, and they're about as close as me to you. And she keels over. And I'm looking at her, and her dad goes, "Oh, she's a vegetarian." I'm like, "Why are you letting her watch me feed this bird? Seriously? Stop." Probably the dumbest question I've gotten asked. I was up on I-80. I had a 20-day-old gyrfalcon in my girlfriend's lap in a laundry basket. We got stopped. There was a wreck up there. People were walking around. This gal walks by my car and goes, "Oh, what's that?" And my girlfriend, who was a vet tech at the time, says, "Well, it's a very young falcon." He goes, "Oh, well, why doesn't it have teeth?" Because birds of prey don't have teeth. She goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And she walks off. I'm like,
Okay.
okay. My nephew, we were in my nephew's school, and he had his red-tailed hawk on his fist. We were doing a talk for an ecology class at Spanish Springs High. Kid comes up, looks at the bird, and goes, "Is that real?" Hey, stop. Stop. And without skipping a beat, that young man, which you know as a young girl, looked at this kid and goes, "No, it's the latest in animatronics." I kind of looked over and just kind of shook my head and just kept walking. I had another guy tell me that he had a red tail in California, but he didn't bring it up to Lake Tahoe because he was too afraid of the altitude might hurt his bird. Okay. All righty.
That one of those ones that don't fly?
I guess, you know, I'm like, oh Lord, here we go. those are probably some of the more odd questions I've gotten asked.
We got a terminology.
Sure,
We refer to all of this, sounds like a general falconry,
yes,
but that involves both falcons and hawks.
correct.
And they-
Okay, so
they hunt
if it
different-
was to be correct, the art of hunting a bird is called falconry. If you hunt with a long wing, you are a falconer. You're considered a true falconer. If you hunt with a hawk, you're an ostringer. Ostringer? Ostringer. That's considered someone who hunts only with hawks.
How's that spelled?
Austringer. Ostringer. So I have hunted with, my last hunting bird before, Terran was a Harris hawk. Oh, they're a hoot. They're a true hoot. They call them, the falconers call them the wolf of the skies because they hunt in packs. And they like to hunt in packs, whereas these guys don't want to hunt with another bird. Even when they're paired, even when there's two, the one will sit on the nest, the other one will go hunt. It will come back with food, then the other one that's sitting on the nest will go hunt. They do not hunt in pairs. Okay. Harris hawks from southwest, like Arizona, hunt in packs. They hunt in family packs. And one of the strangest things I've ever seen is when I went down to trap one, is they like standing on each other's backs. They call it stacking. So you'll see like a saguaro cactus with like 4 Harris hawks standing on top of each other's backs. One looking north, one looking south, one looking west, one looking east, trying to find something to go hunt. And when they do, they send one bird out and the other bird will ambush whatever they're chasing. So they are very smart. I went down and trapped a Harris hawk 4 years ago and hunted it because I had 2 other guys close to me in Palomino Valley and Spanish Springs who also had Harris hawks. So we could turn all 3 of them out together, which is absolutely a riot, especially when they decide to go after a great horned owl. And you got 3 Harris hawks trying to tackle a great horn who is not happy about the situation. And you got talons going everywhere. Not a fun situation, but to watch them hunt together, the intelligence these birds have, absolutely a howl. One of the first things my sponsor told me was, it's not about your comfort, it's about theirs. And this bird was just so miserable. It was late in the spring and he was, alone. I wasn't hunting because I couldn't hunt. It's against the law. And a friend of mine who had a female said, my bird is so miserable. And I said, how would you like a male to keep her company? She goes, oh, heck yeah. So she took my male bird and put it with her female. They were happy as clams all summer. And then that one was born. And so I decided, she says, do I have to give him up? I said, if you don't want to, you can keep him. I said, the 2 of them are happier together. And it's about their comfort, not mine. As much as I loved hunting him, it wasn't fair for him to be alone. So I let her take him. We're really lucky. There's a group of about 20 falconers here in Reno, and they're really good about trading birds or whatever's best for the bird. Yes.
You talked about trapping birds. Can you tell me a little bit more about
Trapping? Let me
that?
take this guy down and out here. Yeah. You're very, very, very noisy. Enjoy. Thank you. So when you're an apprentice, you have to trap your bird. That's part of the rules. And so your sponsor is there to make sure that you do it right and that you do it and you are successful. You have to have a bird of prey for 12 months out of 2 years. And what my sponsor demanded and what I guess, what what he did, I still continue, and that is, so someone comes to me and they said, okay, I want to be a falconer. The first thing they have to do is study. There's a test they have to take. 500 questions, you can only miss 10. It's on history, diseases, equipment and training, bird ID, and the third one, bird ID, history, biology. Anyhow, 500 questions.
The bird ID is birds of prey.
Just birds of prey, because when you're trapping, you got to be able to see what you've got, and you can only trap a bird that's 6 months old, under a year. So you've got to be able to tell an adult from an immature bird. So they take the test, then the Department of Wildlife comes out and inspects where you're going to keep this bird. And if you pass the inspection, then you get to pay them $25 for a tag, and you get to go with your sponsor and go trap a bird of prey. This can be really a hoot. My first bird drug the trap, which you build a trap with nooses all over it, and you put a mouse inside it. Bird of prey comes down, gets hooked in the nooses, flips over on its back. You run up, put a towel over it, get to handle those feet, and put jesses on it, and then put it on your fist and drive home with this bird of prey on your fist. That's why you have your sponsor there, so they can drive. You sit in the back with your bird. Mine decided to drag it across a road, through a fence, down a canal, and into a canal. This was December 29th. It was a bit cold. And my sponsor looked at me and says, your bird, go get it. So I got to crawl down in this canal, thigh deep in water, pull the trap out, pull the wet bird out, bring it out, put the jesses on, and put it on my fist. I'm sitting in the back, and I said, can you turn the heat on? He goes, no. Why? Well, because birds of prey don't like heat, Marie. This isn't about your comfort, it's about his. All the way to Lovelock to Palomino Valley. To say I was a bit cold was an understatement. And then I got to sit in my garage with that bird for 14 hours. All night. Waiting for him to eat on my fist. Yeah, wasn't fun. The next day, I walked out and I put meat on my fist and put him on my thing. And it was 2 or 3 hours before he ate. The next day was only an hour. The 4th day, he ate right away. The 5th day, I asked him to jump 6 inches to my fist. When he did that, we went 3 feet, then 9 feet, then 12, then 24, then 50, then 100. And you have a creance on them. So a long string, okay? And you get to run all the way to the other end of the arena, hold the fist up, palm to your fist. And that bird gets to realize that, hey, she's got food. It took me my first bird, it took a month before I got it to hunt. And since then, I've got it down to where I can trap a bird out of the wild. In 2 weeks, I'll have it hunt for me. Because you learn little tricks, how to do things. But yeah, essentially it is a wood trap with a trap door in the bottom, wire, and then you tie over 100 slip knot nooses out of fishing line. You put it on the road somewhere where you see a bird of prey sitting on a fence post. You go 100 to 150 yards, you whip your car around and you watch that trap. You never leave a trap. Just, no, that doesn't happen. So, and you wait for those birds to come down and you hope that a young one doesn't come down and try to get on the trap and an older one see the mouse in the trap and go, oh, I'll just kick this guy off the trap and get hooked. Because then you have to cut all your nooses, turn the old bird out, redo all your nooses and try again. Yes. There is another way I've never done it. I've had friends who did it. And that is they go down to Padre Island out of Texas. They bury themselves in the sand with a bird and they keep flipping it around like this in their hand. And when the peregrines who are migrating down through there hit their hand, they grab the talons.
That's crazy.
Never done that. Never done that. My Harris hawk, I caught him in a CVS parking lot in Phoenix, Arizona.
Little different.
He was sitting on a telephone pole, which was kind of interesting. Yes,
Are you allowed to take nestlings out of the nest for
yes,
falconry?
yes. The only problem with that is you're imprinting them. If you imprint that bird, you are responsible for life. That's why I have these two. Now that I can't hunt, both of them are retired. I can't hunt either one of them. I'm stuck with them. Unless I can find somebody else to take them, and that's just,
Nobody's gonna take that loud.
nobody's gonna take the loud one. And Kai, maybe, but the problem is there is so many birds of prey out there that are wounded or hurt or whatever, that have gone to a rehab thing and get dumped into a birds of prey center or whatever. And there's so many birds and there's just not enough places for them to go. And then the rehab birds, it's so out of, they say, I was listening to the guy up at the Peregrine Fund, and I guess Pennsylvania State did some study, and they did it from 2007 to 2017. And they said that 80% of the birds of prey that go in and get operated on for like a broken wing, broken leg, 80% of them die within the first month. That 20% live about 3 years, they said 45% of those will live 3 years and then die. The cost of doing a broken leg or a broken wing is somewhere between $7,000 and $9,000 for an animal that probably is going to die. Ain't gonna happen. It just ain't. The odds are bad. And then this year, or should I say last year, Department of Wildlife in October put out, no, when was it? September put out a letter saying that we had bird flu here in Nevada, and that don't hunt your birds. Because if they get a hold of a sick duck or a goose, that it's a death sentence. And most guys that are paying $6,000-7,000 for a peregrine, and they're not going to hunt their bird. So nobody hunted their birds last year because they were scared to death that their birds would pick up a sick animal, and that would be it, you know. And there was a lot. I had 2 people call me up and say, I've got this red tail, or I got this bird of prey. I had a red tail and a Cooper's hawk, and they were acting strange and they couldn't get them off their front porch. And when I finally had them bring them to me, I took one look at the bird and I knew it was either bird flu or West Nile or something. And the birds went to Department of Wildlife and they took them to, I forget what place does the studies on whether or not they're sick or not, but both birds were sick and were put down immediately.
I'm sorry, we are gonna
Yeah.
have to, Moana is gonna kick us out.
They're going to kick you out.
So, thank you so much.